All right, guys, welcome back to the Fashionably Late Pod. I'm your host, Matt Dillon. The Fashionably Late Pod, as you know by now, is all about divine timing. We can take it literally, being late to a party, or we can look at moments that change the trajectory of your life completely. My next guest, Scott Clary, is the main man about town, podcast host, entrepreneur. There's nothing you really don't do, and all-around good guy. So I want to welcome you. Thank you for being here. I wanted to bring Scott on because your niche in the world of podcasting and in terms of business is looking at success. You have the podcast. Success looks different to people across the board. What's your definition, firstly, of success?
So I called my podcast Success Story, right? And it's funny because I was interviewing all these great entrepreneurs and they had all these like success stories and they're all very financially successful. But the one common thread is not the financial success. It's ironically, after they find financial success, they realize like what actually matters, which is relationships, fulfillment, health, physical, mental, and ultimately freedom. And I think that that's what success actually is. Now, a lot of people don't have the privilege of having a huge exit, obviously, and they're chasing after financial success, so much so that the rest of their life goes to shit. And I think that that's the message of the podcast is to not wait until you're financially successful to make sure that the rest of your life is good. Did
you hear that, ladies and gentlemen? Because let me tell you, so I met you through your beautiful wife, Gina.
Yeah.
And then I looked into you because I was like, oh, this is the house. Then I looked into you and I was like, I rarely say this, and it's not me being egotistical. I work my asshole off. Like I go hard for things. Financially, I got a long way to go to things because of choices I've made in my past that get me to there. But I can see your consistency. You step up, you arrive to the plate ready to rumble. And I feel like, is that something that's been innate in you? Or is this something that you trained yourself? It's so interesting to me to see you hold such power when you talk to these entrepreneurs.
Where did that come from?
Yeah.
I think...
He's humble too. Look, he's struggling to.
But
no, maybe that's it.
Because I just had a conversation about humility, and somebody it was a little panel, and they had like a Q&A, and somebody just asked me like, Scott, you seem so humble, and I thought about why, because I don't do it purposefully, but then I think about all the people that I look up to in life, and all the times when I haven't been humble, and I've had too much of an ego, and every single person that I look up to, the most successful people in the world, like people that have exited companies for over 100 million, and some billionaires have been on the show as well. And they're still so curious and so humble, and they don't throw what they've accomplished in your face. Every time I'm humble and I approach the situation like I'm not the smartest person in the room. I want to learn from everyone. Like whatever I've accomplished doesn't mean shit. I'm still on this constant journey of education. It's worked out. Every time I go into a room and I think I'm the shit, and I just lead with ego. I make mistakes. Just bad shit happens. Things take longer than they have to. I lose money. I lose respect. I lose everything because I'm not humble. So I think that just life has trained me to be humble, because that's when I actually get to where I want to go. When I'm not humble, I'm not. I don't accomplish what I want to accomplish. So I think that, humility paired with self-confidence, not ego, is how you succeed.
There. I feel like it's not really a finite line. It should just be in there in you. And I feel like you bring, when you step into a room, you have a presence though. But there's a difference between the presence of ego and like, I mean, your podcast is in the top 5 of the educational podcast. It does extremely. You're top in the global podcast chats 100. Like you're in the I think that was January though. By now I'd say you'd be in the top 100 if I'm sure. Have you checked your stats?
No, I haven't checked global.
That's humble too. Because if that 150 in the global charts, that's across every genre.
Yeah.
You're in the top 100. We're going to just call it now. I'll fact check that shit. But I'm like,
but you know what? So I look at the other end of the spectrum. So people that aren't humble, and the people that are very obviously not humble are usually the people that are they signal that they're rich. A lot of it happens in Miami. They signal that they're rich.
You think?
It's the renting the Lambo and the fake watch and all the bullshit that comes with Miami. But they are the broken, like not like spiritually broken. Like you can have that conversation
fiscally,
but like they actually don't have money.
That's the thing. And people say this about me. I give off good bouge. The bougie comes off good. Bitch, I'm a long way from being like success story. But I want to be on your show, but I'm like, give me 5 years and I'll get my life in that direction.
But I mean, like, it's one thing to enjoy nice things. I think it's okay to enjoy nice things.
Of course.
Yes, it's better to enjoy nice things than not. We only have like, one, well, depending on what you believe, we only have one life.
Let's get into it.
Yeah. But I also think you should enjoy life. But the point is, you're not using nice things to say, hey, I'm selling a coaching program on how to make money to emulate my lifestyle, because I'm the best thing to fucking business and entrepreneurship that ever existed.
Yeah.
That's ego. You're just enjoying nice things for yourself. That's fine. Very different. Very
that's
different than
huge
some people's Instagram
yin
feeds.
and yang. It's funny because Miami is synonymous, and as I've lived here longer and longer, I look at it and I'm like, God damn, like, why would I want to learn the top 5 tricks of you? Like, you rented the Ferrari, you look like a douchebag. But it's like inspiring to see. How many episodes of the series have you shot?
About almost 700.
Hang on. Is there a congruent takeaway? This is a loaded question because there's probably many. But is there a congruent takeaway that the best of the best have?
Yes.
1,000%.
Hit me. Yes.
Wait, let me. You got a notepad, producer? Here we go.
No, it is an unbelief. Again, it's not about the ego, but it is an insane amount of belief in yourself.
Big difference between ego and belief in yourself.
Like a huge difference.
Self-awareness. You need.
Yes, and it sounds cliche, but it's true. Everybody who's come on the show, who I've interviewed, even people like in my network that again have done like incredible shit. They all believe that if they had to start from scratch with no connections, no money, no anything, they could do it again.
That's success to me.
And I think that you need that because, listen, entrepreneurship, we're talking about entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is difficult. I think that it will always take more time and energy and money than you expect it to. And I also think that for somebody to commit a period of their life, a season of their life with an insane amount of energy and effort and work for, at the beginning, very little return, that's not a normal person. So you have to have some sort of belief that's beyond the motivation.
It's called chutzpah, no?
It's chutzpah.
It's it's a chutzpah.
Chutzpah, yeah. Because I don't like, this is another reason why I don't like motivation, because motivation dies out the second something gets hard. So you
100%.
have to have belief in the vision, and you have to have belief in yourself to actually execute on the plan to achieve the vision. And then you have to do that for an unreasonable amount of time. And all those ideas together are what makes success. If you do anything for 10 to 15 years, you'll find a way to earn a decent living off of that thing. But what do people do? They start for a year. They want instant gratification because of some dumbass Instagram coach that says after you spend $10,000 on my coaching program, you're going to make, $100,000.
Yeah.
And then they think that they're the problem why they're not successful. It's because their expectations weren't correct from the get-go. And then they self-sabotage, they start something else, shiny object syndrome, they don't push through the hard parts of anything worth doing, and then they restart again and again and again and again, and never accomplish anything. So it's a lot of different ideas, but you kind of have to tap into all of them to be successful. But I would say that self-belief is probably the most powerful one.
Do you think pop culture and that 15 minutes of fast fame plays a part into like the drop off of so many people? Like you mentioned, the social media is incredibly annoying when the For You page is. There's a guy on the For You page right now that's putting bottles of water in an ice bucket and literally like talking about I can change your life in like 30 days.
Oh, that trainer?
Ashton.
Is that trainer?
Yeah, I didn't want to name his name and call him out, but I'm like, maybe he can. No shade to you, sir. I call bullshit because there's 20 other people that I've seen doing the exact same thing, and they say inspired by. I feel like it's like direct multi-level marketing within this whole weird situation. But did it stem from like a Kardashian effect of the pop culture world being like, oh, you can have perceived success? I'm not dissing the Kardashians either.
I think that's... Okay, go ahead, sorry.
I'm not going to diss the Kardashians. I wanted to have that on record because I actually, whatever you think about them, the work ethic is there. It has to be there. You can't just make mold out of bullshit.
I agree.
You can get a concept, but do you think the likes of those people has really just diluted what success is, because there's a running theme through most of your guests. Like, they're real business. Like, it's real. Like,
I consider Kardashians real business.
So do I, but I'm like, it's pop culture-esque, so it's on the...
So what I think, a couple different ideas.
Yep.
So I think with the Kardashians, I think that they're one of the hardest working families in the world, which is why they are so successful, and they're very, very smart. I think that people look at what first, shone the spotlight on them, and they don't respect that. And
that feels like moons ago.
But
now.
that's what tarnishes the image forever in some people's minds. Not many people, but some people, they're like, they don't deserve success because it came from a sex tape.
You think that's jealousy, though?
At
this point, it's jealousy, right? Yeah.
Because listen, I can make a sex tape. Doesn't mean I'm going to be a billionaire.
Where's Chris? Where's Chris at? Come on, Chris.
So I think that you got to respect the work that they put in. And I think that some people look at social media that shows somebody's success and they think it's overnight, and it's not. I think that it's not just that. I think social media sort of hijacks our brain. I think that everything we get is instant gratification. Our attention spans are getting shorter. We have Uber and Amazon, and now we have Netflix. We don't have to drive to a Blockbuster to get a movie on a Friday night.
Don't you miss those days?
I miss slowing down sometimes, but everything's instant gratification. So when 90% of our life is instant gratification, and social media validates that we should be able to make money instantly because of some role model that's full of shit, some fake online guru. Then again, when we don't achieve that, we're like, what's wrong with us?
Yeah, it's a vicious cycle.
Yeah, it's a vicious cycle. So yes, it is a mixture of society and pop culture and just technology and convenience that has messed with our perception of time and delayed gratification.
It's a slippery slope in understanding, for me, success is, and I think you touched on it, I feel successful, but I know I have a long way to go in terms of the fiscal part of it. But I feel like my commitment and dedication to the craft, and my craft changes every day. I'm the most brutally honest person. To self-deprecate.
What do you mean your craft changes? You built
it does. I have
PR.
a vision, but it's like here and there and everywhere. So I'm like discovering.
You have your core.
I have my 100%.
Yeah.
PR is my core. Hook it up, bitches.
Yeah.
My rates are this. Thank you very much. Come on, Scott. We're going to talk. I want to talk about, and we had it off camera, and I knew you would have this position. I think, but then now I'm learning and I'm watching some of your episodes, is image and crafting a brand. So an image, it could be like the way I put this on just because it looks good on camera. And that's the truth. So there's the truth. But I still come with be able to push an episode through. Is image and understanding an aesthetic that you represent important to success? So whether it's clothing, whether it's, this is my niche, so I know what my content should look like. Is that important? Or is that like bullshit?
This isn't fair. I'll tell you why this isn't fair.
I don't care.
When you started... before we press record, you said, is image important?
I know, I had to change it.
But image is a brand.
Answer the first part.
So I don't think image is as important. So I know people whose brand is Seth Godin. He wears yellow glasses.
Yeah.
These are not expensive glasses. He just wears yellow glasses. Everybody sees Seth Godin, they know Seth Godin. I mean, Gary Vee is always wearing some sort of Jets hat or something like that. It's not like bougie, but it's
still fashion.
It's a brand.
It's still
yes.
They're still taking a piece of.
Now, I think you have to understand. Okay, do you want to become a personality? Do you want to be known for something? Then yes, I guess image and brand is important.
Okay.
But image doesn't mean like luxury. It just means that you have a look that people associate with you. Now, image and brand, personal brand, they're not always required for success. I mean, I know people that are worth a lot of money, and they'll have like a Laura Piana shoes and like a nice hat.
See, he knows brands, ladies and gentlemen.
But if you look at them, you like if you didn't know the brand, they're not like well put together. It's not like they're like flashy.
It's what they stand for and
what they stand for.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and you see rich people like their clothes don't fit. They like
it's a mishmash.
It's a kind of a mess.
Yeah.
But they're worth a lot of money.
Oh, of course.
So is image important to them? I mean, no. I think they care about money. or whatever they care about. But I think that it helps. I think that it's not required, but it helps.
What about I split it into male and female? Do you think being a female? Now your wife is one of the most glam women in the 305.
She is very glam.
So I'm like, she's one of the nicest too. So she's one of the most glam, but one of the nicest too. I think humble and real.
Thank you.
Always been very kind to me. We have a great rapport. Do you think there is a distinct though that a woman has to, even in this day and age?
I don't think so.
Okay, that's an interesting take.
I don't think so. I see a lot of very successful, famous people, women, who, they don't look disheveled.
Yeah.
But they're not like Russian supermodels.
Yeah.
So I think, and I actually have seen a swing where the more approachable and seemingly like down to earth you look and act, the more relatable you are, and the more people want to follow along.
You feel like that's the Alex Earls of the... I mean, she's a glamour, but she does the whole I'm drunk and I'm this and
yeah. I don't know if Alex Earl's like a good example.
Okay.
I think there's just more... Like, I don't know that world. Anyone I name is going to be super fucking offended by me putting them into this category. So
you know who I would name that wouldn't be offended? I don't know whether she does it deliberately, though. To be Bethany Frankel is like the no makeup frizzy hair.
I actually do. And that's a good example.
I think she's a good example
because she doesn't give a shit, but she does, but she doesn't.
I feel like when I look to somebody, she's my role model in that sense. It looks like I give a shit, but I'm literally wearing this. Like, this is $5 from China. Sorry, China.
Actually,
yes.
That's a badass
I'll send you the link. I know. She not real, baby.
Yeah. I mean, she's a billionaire.
Correct.
So, but she's not monetizing how she looks.
That's what interests me about.
I think it depends on what's your business? Yes.
Okay. That's such an interesting breakdown.
I mean, you can hate OnlyFans,
oh.
But I mean, to succeed on OnlyFans, I'm assuming you got to look a certain way. That's the game. I think that if you aren't building an OnlyFans account and you're building anything else, you don't have to look a certain way. So I think that you have to understand what game you're playing. I think that if you're an investment banker, if you're showing up with a t-shirt and shorts, you're probably not playing that game right.
Correct.
So two things can be true at the same time.
I think it's case by case when it comes to like what business and what sandpit you're playing in.
Yeah.
I think the likes of the Bethany's being that pared back has seen her business quadruple and go off a simple reality show into something way bigger. Do you think in this day and age, it's like with male entrepreneurs and female entrepreneurs, do you think there's a disparity still, or do you think we're closer to an even playing field?
No, there's a huge disparity.
Okay.
In terms of amount of money raised, like that's sort of like a metric for our investors betting on the entrepreneur. I mean, I don't have the numbers, but I've done a couple interviews with people that, like Julia Borstein, and she studies this a lot. Basically, it's like a fraction of women entrepreneurs, and also minority, like black entrepreneurs, compared to like white, straight, cis, whatever you call them, guys, out of San Francisco. It's like night and day. It's sad. It's actually very sad. But the people that fund entrepreneurship, the angels, the VCs, they just don't take as many bets on women and minorities as they do straight white dudes that look like them.
I mean, that's been societal for so long.
That it's shitty. It's slow. I mean, yes, every year it gets a little bit better, but the gap is huge.
Yeah.
So even a little bit better is not significant.
So 700 episodes of your show. Do you enjoy it as much? Like, do you learn? Is this something that you're definitely the guy that like gleans information? Like, you're really. Yeah. I love that. So therein lies like your passion that you find in it. Do you feel, is that something, the reason why you continue doing it? Because it's a job. Like, that's a career, my friend.
It's a
it's a career.
Yeah. I love it.
And you're very good at it.
Thank you.
Hats off. I'm not wearing one, but I got it.
You're good at it too. You're a good interviewer.
We're getting there, baby.
How many episodes have you done?
This is my 4th.
For real?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you're better than I was on my 4th episode. I was nervous as shit.
I don't know. I feel very comfortable with you. It was an interesting dichotomy to bring a man in, because I was like, I need to have men And I don't want to, like, no offense to myself, but I don't need to talk to another gay guy. I need, like, a man. I can offend myself, right?
You can offend
we're
yourself.
We're in a wishy-washy society. Don't be afraid.
No, I think cancel culture is more or less over.
I'll cancel myself. Exactly. Unless you're an asshole. That's it.
Yeah. I was like, you know what? It's never been a good idea to be racist on Twitter. Like,
No.
You know what's wild to me? How these like everybody who goes on Bravo seems to at some point in their life think it was a good idea to be racist on Twitter.
It always comes out.
There was never a point in my life where I'm like, hey, first of all, I'm not an asshole, but let me blast out my most assholey thoughts to the world.
Forever.
That's never once been like, oh, that's a great idea. Anyway,
that's the problem. That we digress, people. Yeah. We digress. But do you glean the information still? Like, is it as exciting?
Yes, it is, and it's even more exciting because the more I do it, the more comfortable I'm asking questions that are not easy questions to ask, questions that actually get into like the soul of the person.
I feel like your series really gets into the psyche as opposed to how much money did you raise?
That stuff is interesting.
It is interesting, but the mental, and I feel like you have like a finesse way to do. No, you really do, because it's not easy to talk to a billionaire and have them open up and be conversational.
No, I laugh sometimes because some of the podcasts that we're doing now, because they're in person, when it's virtual, it's hard to really build rapport and like really build a connection.
Yeah.
And we were doing, like an hour and a half. Some of the podcasts now are like hitting 3 hours because people like get so comfortable and in the zone, and they're like, and like 3 hours will go by and they're like, how long have you been recording for? I'm like,
exactly.
Yeah, you just get into it, and I think that's a sign of a good conversation. But yeah, I love it because first of all, selfishly, I learned so much, and it's not just me. Any podcaster that you watch over the course of their career, Joe Rogan's gotten a hell of a lot smarter than when he started.
He really has.
He's gotten exceptionally
No, he really
smart.
has. No, he has.
But why is that?
Because of consistency, and you glean information from everybody that sits in a chair opposite you.
Yeah.
But he's a perfect example. He's definitely like worldly.
Yeah,
There's a worldly sense to him.
And he was Fear Factor and UFC commentator.
Yeah, I think people forget where he came from, actually.
Have you ever seen his first podcast?
No, but I'm gonna go look it up. I will.
So it's him and a whole bunch of comedian buddies, and they're using some shit webcam that has like a snow effect on it. So it's like they're recording, and like there's like whatever, like horribly animated snow falling.
I love it.
Yeah. And I don't even know how many podcasts he's done.
You definitely have a niche in what you're doing. So this is your career. This is the gig. This is the job. Is there plans to branch it out into more outside of podcast visual platform? Like, you go the speaking circuit. You're out and about.
Yeah, I speak.
So talk a little bit about that, because that's taking, I guess, the comfort of a studio and like putting you in front of an audience. Is that something that, because I feel like you can take a whole bunch of information and really connect with people with valuable shit, not fake, I can give you 10 tips to change your life tomorrow.
So
or do you have that package coming out tomorrow?
No. So podcasting as a business is interesting. I mean, one thing just to talk about, like speaking in person, if you're going to build a personal brand, I think you should start where you're most comfortable, which it doesn't have to be podcast. It could be writing a newsletter. It could be tweeting. It could be podcasting. Find out where you're most comfortable. Start there. But know that eventually, in my opinion, to be the most effective, you can't just assume that everybody in the world loves podcasts. So you have to start to go into different mediums. And now I have the newsletter, I speak, I podcast. And each medium, you're going to have to figure out how to tell your story and deliver your message a different way. But the one thing that I do love, and I'll tell you sort of like where my plans are in the future, but one thing I love about speaking is you build an even more intimate connection with the audience than you can virtually. So you can have, I mean, if you ranked all the different ways to connect with people, like I would say like TikTok and Twitter are like the least intimate. And then you have like writing, long form video, long form audio, speaking in front of a crowd, sitting down for coffee. And I think that, this is the natural evolution of somebody wanting to build their personal brand. And it's good to lean into this stuff. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm expanding like my name and my reach as much as possible across all the different places I can put it. In terms of where I take the business, a podcaster or a content creator can take the business in a couple different ways. A lot of people sell courses. I'm not a huge fan of that, just because there's a lot of garbage out there. There's a lot of
You've
garbage.
been around for a minute,
Yeah.
so you've seen.
So I'm very hesitant to put more garbage out. I think that an interesting play for content creators that could be a little bit more lucrative than selling courses, and you could do a couple things. You could sell courses. I could start like a podcast network. I could grow the podcast, and then advertisers pay me more
Correct.
to come on it.
Yeah.
Another way that I think is sort of the future of the creator economy is to find an early stage startup and that has a product that's aligned with your audience, and take small equity positions in that company. Take small ownership positions based on...
That's success, by the way. I think
Yes.
he's like, not ask for money, get equity.
Get
That's
equity.
That's success.
You use your voice and your audience to grow their company from scratch, and you're basically taking their company to market with your audience. And instead of, I mean, in the investing world, you put a couple thousand, probably more than that, bucks into a startup, and that's what fuels their growth. Here you're trading impressions, and you're trading reach to help take their company and help it become
That's
successful.
Smart. That's
Well, this is what Joe Rogan did with On It. This is what 50 Cent did with vitamin water. This is what Flo Rida tried to do with Celsius when they screwed him over. Then he sued them and won like $100 million regardless.
he did good.
He did good. But I think that small equity positions, and not in a predatory way. You're not taking parts of people's companies that you can't help. You have to make sure that the product aligns with the audience that you've created.
You're coming at it with integrity.
And also, I'd say for the entrepreneur, if you ever entertain this idea, when you give somebody equity in your company, there's something called vesting, meaning that you give them equity over a period of time or based on milestones. So you can say, hey, I would give you 5% if you take my product, you advertise it, and you can generate $500,000 in sales. And then that can equal a certain percentage. So you're also protecting yourself. You're not just giving them equity and then day one they immediately own 5% of your company without doing any work.
Yeah.
But I think that's something that creators should think about, because that is huge upside.
That's a bit.
And creators keep trying to build their own companies when they suck at being entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Why?
But there's a huge difference. An
Yes.
entrepreneur, to me, is not necessarily a creator.
I agree, but they'll try.
Trying's one thing, but
Yes.
I'm like, I would have tried at 20, which I did. Now I'm 42. I'm not trying to reinvent too much of myself. This is the question that I have to kind of round this out.
Yeah.
Fashionably late is obviously going to a party being fashionably late, but I look at it from the divine timing of there's a shift in some moment that puts you on the right trajectory.
Yeah.
How is it better for it to happen later? I feel like for me, it's happened a little bit later in life, and I put a consistent effort in, and I'm glad that it's happening at 42. I feel this movement and strategy and alignment, and I'm mentally and clear and clarity able to handle it.
Yeah.
You've spoken to a lot of people, some that hit younger, some that are, over 42. There's no rhyme or reason, but is there, in your opinion, a better time for that aha moment to come?
I mean, it's not an age thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think that I think the answer is not trying to rush.
There you go. Be fashionably late, motherfucker.
Be fashionably late. I think not. When you rush, you make mistakes.
Correct.
And when you rush, forget about making mistakes. If you rush and you have the expectation that things are going to happen quicker, if they don't, then that's when depression hits, because now you've busted your ass. You have like maybe 3 months of cash in the bank because you just quit your job.
Yeah.
And you don't make the money from your company that you just started, and now you're stressed out, and then you quit it, and you're like, I hate entrepreneurship. Well, why not? Why not keep your job? Why not build your company on the weekends? Why not commit 5 to 10 years of your life to it? So and set your life up so that you're not running out of money. You can pay your rent, you can pay your mortgage, you can put food on the table, and just like slow and steady. Like it's like that's it. Be fashionably, and then when it does hit, you only have to win once. That's the beauty of entrepreneurship. You only have to win once.
I like that. I think that sums it up for me. That's I wanted you here because it's like you have heard from, listened to, and after 700 episodes, that's how many years of your life?
About 6.5 years.
Yeah, that's a chunk of thing, and
Yeah.
I always say it's the long race. It's not the instant gratification, and I think that's important for people to understand. that it is that consistency. Because I worked 3 jobs to start my PR company back in Australia before I even moved here. I worked at a muffin store, a jewelry store, and I was on the phones at a call center. Just to make sure before I really dug in that this was a direction that I could handle. So it's like, for me, I appreciate you coming in because you give context to what success is, and it's not always about the fiscal part of things. And it is a risk game, and it is this. But if you make it a long game, like you make it sound so simple, though, which is great.
It is
simple.
Yes, it is
No,
simple.
I sat here like this. I'm like, okay. Because I'm not there yet either. I'm like, and a lot of people that follow me.
So you're not, yes, you're not
I'm
there.
on TV every other week, bitch.
I don't even know what that means. You're not there yet. You're killing it, but whatever.
I guess
because you move your own goalposts. Because everybody who's ambitious,
and I keep moving them.
Yeah, which is a big issue. That's a whole other conversation, and I suffer from that too. But like, you work for yourself.
Correct.
You have your own company. You make money. You have customers. They're happy. You've been doing this for I don't even know how long. Because
20 years.
20 years. Because you didn't say, hey, I'm quitting my 3 jobs and starting a PR company, and then it would have died, and then you would have gone back to working a job.
And it has died 3 separate occasions in the last 2 decades. COVID, oddly, was the biggest amount of money I've ever made in my life.
It's ironic.
And a lot of people hear that. But it's like, just listening to you, I was like, yeah, I think I have the moving the goalposts issue.
Everyone does.
And
every ambitious person does.
And it's like, I feel like I'm slowly coming into, just sitting next to you and hearing those stories. And I know the effort that goes into creating and the quality and what have you. Also procuring these guests. Like, there's a lot of different facets that go into doing what you do. It just doesn't come up on the screen and be like, hey, new podcast. And it's a mental thing too, to tap in and build this rapport with somebody and really do yourself justice, do your brand justice. So I feel like your Fashionably Late moment has been this evolution that you've just showed up. So sometimes the Fashionably Late is like a big aha moment comes, or it's just a consistent roll through where you show up, you step over the perceived issues that I'm sure it's not been without grit and like,
no,
God
1,000%.
damn.
But my thesis on life is, if I stick with it long enough, I'll figure it out. Like I always say that, like, I'll do the podcast till the day that I die. Like, it's an easy commitment for me.
I'm gonna be 9 years old on television going, look at this fashion motherfuckers.
I mean, look at oh my God, I'm blanking on his name now. Oh my God, that's so bad. The interviewer guy, the older guy.
Oh my God, is it on Dateline?
No, not Dateline.
Oh, it's like Keith.
No,
Keith died, I think.
Did he? I don't know. Did he?
I love him. Why my mind went there?
I'm blanking on the guy's name. I mean, like, there's Howard Stern who's been doing it for forever.
Correct.
What Larry? What is it? Oh, I'm blanking on.
Anybody remember the name of that person?
What? Larry King.
Oh, bam!
Man, I can't believe I forgot his last name. Larry King.
That's so bad.
He's
an icon.
He is an icon.
And he's still doing.
No.
He's dead too?
Yeah.
I feel his shit comes up on the For You page with all the young.
Yeah.
How long ago did he die?
A while ago.
Damn, I'm out of the loop.
Yeah. Yeah.
Keith's dead too, everyone, just to let you know.
But the point is, he was like a master of his craft. You're joking about being old and doing it. Be old and do it.
I would love to.
What are you gonna do? Retire?
No, I don't.
There's a lot of science behind when you retire and you don't keep your mind busy. That's when you actually, your body and your mind start going. Like, find something you can do, like, quite literally, till the day that you die, and that will ironically give you the best chance of living longer.
All right, final question.
Shoot.
Don't hold back. At 1 out of 10, how bad am I at podcasting, or how good am I? And what's some tips for me to really get better at this craft? Because you've got it nailed down.
So, I think you are really good at podcasting.
Thank you.
I think
That's
you are.
it.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
No, I think you're good at podcasting because you don't put up a guard when you're interviewing people. You just ask questions you actually care about. I think that's actually it's a good way to gauge whether or not the content's good. If you just ask shit that you care about, then you know that someone else in the world's also going to care about that same topic. And when you try and prep too much, nothing wrong with prep, but when you prep too much and you don't follow the conversation, but instead you are waiting for that person to stop speaking just so you can ask your next scripted question, that creates garbage content. So what
I felt like it came a lot to you being able for me to just flow it though.
part of it's the guest.
Yeah.
Part of it's the guest feeling comfortable, but it's also you feeling okay, maybe not asking the second question right away and then going deeper on a topic because you know the person cares about that.
Yeah.
And you do that well. Like you do
Thank
that
you.
naturally. I think that's probably because you're a good speaker. You're like a curious person, and you're a very charismatic, like social person. So all that stuff lends well.
Okay.
The people that are too robotic, that's when you get into trouble.
Okay.
But you don't do that. So that's sort of like not feedback towards you.
Mm-hmm.
I would say things that you can do better. If you bring in stories about that person that I may not have thought to bring up,
Okay.
that usually that unlocks a really great conversation. So you ask good questions, and then we spoke about stuff that, like, you know, I would respond, and then you'd sort of keep going down that rabbit hole. But if you listen to a whole bunch of podcasts about me, you hear stories about shit that's happened in my life that I'm not going to think about.
Okay.
And you could be like, hey, what about when this happened? How did that make you feel? Or what was the outcome from that? And for that, before AI, it was very hard to do that because you would have had to listen to a whole bunch of conversations or read a whole bunch of books. Now you can just go to YouTube, you can take transcripts, and you can throw it into AI and say, give me 5 to 10 stories that this person's spoken about that I can bring up on the show. And then you sound super well researched, and like just, it sounds like you know everything about this person when it probably took you 10 minutes of work.
Okay, that's solid.
And people love talking about themselves. So
I know.
people love talking about themselves. So you also don't do this, but I've been interviewed on podcasts, not just me being the podcaster, but me being the guest. And sometimes the host has an objective, and it's kind of, you know, reiterating the first point, but they don't delineate. They're not very malleable. They don't want to move away from the objective so that they like pick up on a good story that the guest obviously cares about, and the second they're done, it's like they totally switch topics.
Okay.
When the audience listening, it's at home, like sitting there screaming, like, no, like go, like
Keep
keep going, like go down
Gotcha.
that rabbit hole and figure out, you know, why that happened or why they care about it so much. And you can kind of pick up, if you do enough of these, what gives somebody energy versus what just sounds like they're like regurgitating some crap that they don't really care about. And when they do have energy, just like lean into it.
Okay.
And that would be my best
Not bad.
hosting tips.
So wait. Out of 10, what did I get?
11.
Hey, my man.
I got you.
You can come back. And I'll be on your podcast in about 5 years.
Why 5 years?
Because I think the fiscal part is important to me. Maybe not
Yeah.
for you, but it's important to me.
Yeah.
Done. Be fashionably late. Listen to the advice, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much, my brother.
Oh, my